Hi, everyone. Welcome to What Just Happened. Today, we welcome Brian Wright. Brian is director of VolShop. VolShop is the official campus store of the University of Tennessee. Welcome, Brian. It's really nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Thank you. We should do an introduction. Brian Wright from the VolShop, leader of VolShop, University of Tennessee's campus store.
Yep, that's me.
Is how many square feet?
We're about 30,000 square feet at our main campus location. And then we have a satellite store that's about 6,000 square feet. We have another one that's about 2,000 square feet. And then we do all the sportswear and the concessions for all the stadium. We have 14 locations in there. There's trailers everywhere. We have an art and architectures program. And then, of course, we also do the books and technology, and that's called Vol Books and Vol Tech, but it's all the same umbrella that does all of those areas for the students. So we're taking care of them, what they wear, what they read, and all their technology needs.
So it's a big deal. It's a lot of space. It's a lot of offering. It's a lot of moving parts and pieces. And you run the e-com?
We do the e-com too. We have a full, complete e-com store. We have about a 20,000 square foot distribution center that the e-com's attached to. And yeah, it's about 15% of our sales comes out of the e-com department. We're very event driven, as you can imagine, people visiting the school. It's like Disneyland or Disney World. You come visit the campus, you do all the cool things, and then we're the shop at the end. The bulk of our sales, still 85% come from, after you visited, and you're having fun and you're cheering, you get the swag on the way out, and we have that for them. Or if you're visiting and you need your books, we have office supplies as well for students. We're just, ed retail is really, I enjoy it because we're putting kind of purpose over products. We're just here to serve the students and have them be successful and their entire journey.
The Lululemon and Stony Clover partnerships.
Lululemon's really leaning into co-branding and partnerships, and that was pretty interesting to see.
So Lululemon knocks on your door and says, we want to do this, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. And the interesting story on that is they had picked like the top 9 schools or something like that. And then it got shrunk down to 7, and we were like school number 8. And something happened with those 7 schools before. And those are the schools like the UCLA's, big cities like Los Angeles and stuff. So we fell in ed, but somebody fell out and they said, hey, would you be interested in doing it now? And we were like, yeah. And the timeline went from being a year away to months away. So then we were like, okay, we started looking at everything, started coordinating the setting up the shop, and you started going. So they really pick who they're going to partner with, and we're exclusively with us. So it's a nice differentiator from our competitors, but we have to adhere to all of Lululemon's brand standards, and it's very strict, and we have to make sure we meet all the requirements for it to be there. And they want a trusted partner that'll keep it to that and not start doing anything that would start presenting the brand in a bad way. And so we actually have a student staff member. Her name's Annie, and she's just dedicated to taking care of that every day she comes into work, and just makes it look great.
Was that something you saw as a means to an end and the best way to not lose sleep at night, that you're not meeting the brand standards? Did they demand a person? Or like, how did you decide to dedicate a person and payroll to that?
Why that happens is we'll have 150,000 people will come into Knoxville for a football game. The stadium holds 102,000. So I knew, hey, we need to put a dedicated person. I felt it was important for that brand representation to be there, to dedicate someone to that. And we don't do that with any of our other areas. We have students that are assigned to those areas, but nothing like Lululemon. We wanted to make sure that we honored kind of their brand representation.
So they knock on your door. That's like insanely amazing. And I've seen that the students line up and sleep out the night before. These are retail dreams come true. Brands come knocking, sleeping out. You're just falling back into, instead of a pile of leaves, you're falling back into a pile of money down here in the VolShop. Good for you guys. How does that factor into your day-to-day? How do you just not walk around them?
It goes once again to that purpose over profits thing. And so we saw that happen in Ohio State and the stores that opened before us, the long lines. And what I looked at it was, that looks great. The people that are in the long line, when they got to the shop on that launch day, were finding everything was gone, right? And then they were having a bad experience. So I did something and set up something with Wait While during the pandemic. You could only have a certain amount of people in your store, so you had to reserve time to go shop. So I brought that back from the pandemic and I made people reserve time to shop. And so they went online, we sent everything out, and we sold out all of our slots where it was going to be that one day. It went over 2 days. And then people just signed up, they showed up for their appointment, and then they went in and shopped. And that helped us keep from there being a run on a lot of the product, and made it a much better experience for the customer. And it was even interesting. The news said, can you imagine they're making you sign up to shop? But our customers really appreciated that, because showing up and waiting in a long line, because those lines were like starting at 4 in the morning. Imagine if you can make a 10 a.m. appointment, you click in, you go, you shop, you get what you wanted. A lot of people knew exactly what they wanted, got those items and left. It worked out really well. And actually, the funny story is that I started to panic because it was working so well. I'm like, this is working too. Did we do something wrong? And I went into the system and we started calling people in early. Would you want to come early? And I started creating a little line. And then I had said, okay, stop. So then we recontrolled that line, got people back on their appointments. And I was like, because we are in retail so used to like, look at the awesome lines, look at all the news around it, but you forget the experience for the person that's been out there for 5 hours, that comes all the way through, and then all the good stuff's gone. They're like, oh, you're out of that? Because Scubas was the really big thing. These are the hoodies that and because we staggered it that way, we had those for a lot longer. And it wasn't really till I'd say the end of that day that people like, because they wear them oversized. It's just the Lululemon folks that really love that brand have a lot of the nuances that make it exciting that they're looking for. But then we were able to have product a lot longer, and it worked out pretty well.
I don't know anything about Wait While. That sounds very cool. I want you to tell me
Wait
about it.
while. Wait while.
Yeah, tell me, when you book, are you indicating what you might want to buy and what size you are, or you're just reserving a slot?
Just reserved. They do have that feature, but we didn't want to turn on all the products for everyone to see. So we didn't even offer it online. So our e-commerce, because we only had a certain amount of inventory, and we didn't want the online folks yanking it all out before the people that were setting up appointments to show up. And then once again, you have the same problem. So we didn't open up our online store, I think, for a month. We allowed people for a month to come to the store. So we actually went back to the 80s or something, like where you go to the store and you shop there, and people online were like, what? We made it that kind of experience. And they had this beautiful shop and shop set up. So it was a great experience. So people were showing up for football games and they were getting it. And then about a month in, once we had the inventory correct, a reorder came in, then we could make sure we were satisfying the customers online as well. So they wouldn't be like, why is this broken and everything? So we had learned from some of the previous schools that had those challenges, trying to do them at the same time, to really break it up. Because when things peak, you just end up causing more problems when you have just too much traffic. Like you said, it's like, oh, this is great. There's so much traffic. But we didn't want to make it a bad experience for people. And it worked pretty well.
So now you're settled in and the hype is a little lower. Is it steady Eddie? Is it all about newness? Is it outreach marketing? What is it? Fall back on retail fundamentals?
Still, the Lululemon customers are Lululemon customers, and there's lots of tours that come in all the time. So they're seeing it for the first time. So it's been able to maintain that same level of excitement. It's not as big as a launch, but it's still continuing.
I wanted to talk about the unique cadence of campus stores. So
Yeah.
my first question would be, a lot of it sounds very similar. A lot of it sounds like you've got a lot of benefits that standard retail doesn't have. How do campus stores fit in as like Black Friday, Cyber Monday? Is that not a thing? And your big moments are athletics rush, which is back to school for people not in the know, et cetera. So how does your cadence differ, or how is it the same?
Yeah, so our cadence is a little different because it is surrounded around those back to school times, orientations, football games, basketball games. So we operate as a traditional retailer in a lot of the ways. And so we have similar peaks when the holidays hit. We're busy through that time period as people are preparing for their shopping. And so we have, that's just a part of the gifts. Our e-commerce starts to take off. We have the Cyber Monday. We follow all the same traditional holidays and try to promote our products on whether it's Memorial Day or any of those types of days. But we essentially have a Black Friday 7 times a year, right? So we're constantly at that level of peak.
Let's get your thoughts on the importance of leadership and what that means to you.
Yeah, so I have a really good story. So when I got into this industry, the ed retail, I was in my 20s and I met he was the general manager, but he was the CEO of the University of Oregon bookstore. And so I had just finished working in retail, but then I went to an ad agency as a young person. And then I was working as a graphic designer at the bookstore. And I'd been there 2 weeks and he calls me, say, hey, you want to come by my office anytime? Come on. And so 2 weeks in, I went and talked to him. And he spent a lot of time with me talking about the industry and why he does it and why he loves it, because we're here for students. And he's just real passion for educating students and giving them the things they want. It's just done in a different way. We're not teaching, but we're providing the supplies and resources they need to be successful. And he really talked about being a servant leader. And that was like, I hadn't really heard that concept. And he was like, hey, we're just here to um, help people grow and develop. And he was a very big active listener and is a chance to serve others and really practicing for this greater good. And he said, if you do all those things and you really take care of, because he was very customer centric, which was student centric, university community centric, they'll take care of you and will be successful. And he grew that from one store. I was there, he had 3 stores, up to 14 locations and became this huge thing. And I watched all that and I said, wow, this seems to work. And people were happy at work. They didn't hate their jobs. People worked in the industry for many decades and everything that still continues today, because you're really there for this purpose to take care of students and make them be successful. When you see a student come as a freshman and go all the way through, we're going to be a part of that experience as well. You're getting them from the minute they enroll to when they graduate. So you're getting these really big times and families, right? So you almost then get that kind of wedding experience where it's this ceremonial and you're part of this whole cool thing. And so that led me to become more of a servant leader. And I'll tell you, in retail, when you explain that, they look at you like, what? It's like, how do we help serve them best? It's leading by serving. He just really was an important person to me and who I am
So
today.
are you carrying that torch? Do you have 1 or 3 or 5 little Brians that you're paying it forward?
Yes, and I do that as much as I can. When they come to me, I just say, let's figure it out. Just so really trying to figure out how to help people develop and grow and working with everybody individually where they are. It takes a lot of work, but it's super rewarding.
It's the human side of leadership. It's human first, humane, human, the humanity piece. Let's move into tech as we
Okay.
start to wrap up. Are the needs different? Obviously, retail is tech run now, but are you able to and willing and want to dabble in some of the new AI, for example, some
Mhm.
new you've got your pieces running. There's always room for improvement. There's always opportunities to change and leverage what you've learned.
I think in the future, there's going to be a big shift where digital course materials will be more AI driven. You interact with it and get more personal individualized learning with that technology. And that's what will help facilitate with all the different publishers and ed tech companies and get students to have better outcomes. And a lot of the research has already shown that digital course materials help students be more successful because of the way they can either listen to it or change the fonts, or for dyslexic students, it just has more, it's not a one-way push of information like an old text material was. Now they can manipulate one.
I think there was a time where bookstores were caught way off guard by Amazon and fell flat and stayed flat, and now have caught up, really worked to catch up.
There are a lot of schools that are and Jim Williams, my mentor, was very big on innovation. He was like, let's adopt new things, let's do new things. So I seem to luck out with a good mentor and lots of innovation training. That's okay. And
Yeah.
being a regular retailer in the ed retail world is a lot of fun.
I don't know, it feels like it was a bigger hand moving you to there, because it fits you perfectly. It's curiosity, it's innovation, it's leadership, it's fun. And those are all the things that describe you as well. And I really want to thank you for your
Thanks.
time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. So, Brian, I appreciate you coming on What Just Happened.